Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us on our weekly Departures Lounge travel show. We are really excited today to have a little bit of a different format than normal in that we're not going to have a PowerPoint presentation. We're actually going to have a live chat today. Departures Lounge is to be all things new and interesting in the world of travel. So today what we're going to be talking about is what's on everybody's mind, and that is when can we get back to traveling? But to get started, my name's Kathy Scott, and I'm the owner of Departures Travel in Oak Bay, Victoria. And with me today is Kathy Larson, who is co-owner along with myself of the Departures Travel in Sydney, BC. And we're really excited with our co-host or tri-host today, which is Geraldine Ree. And Geraldine comes to us from many, many years in the travel business, and she'll tell us a little bit more about herself, along with the fact that she is a godmother to the, I think it's called the Isla, which is a lovely river cruise ship, and she was crowned godmother in 2014. So Geraldine, tell us a bit more about that.
Well, hello, Kathy, and hello, everyone. I'm just so thrilled to be here today. Second greatest thing to actually traveling is being able to talk about travel, and it's definitely my passion. I was thrilled to be the godmother for the Viking Isla, and it was just an incredible experience. I had never done a river cruise before, and it was just coming into its own. And if you haven't done a river cruise, I can tell you it is just the most exquisite, extraordinary way to go and explore through Europe and different parts of the world. And so, yeah, to be named godmother, it was the year that they, really recognized female leaders in the travel industry, and they selected 8 of the top female leaders. And I was among just the most humbled to be among the most incredible company, and it was just a amazing experience.
That's fantastic. I can't even imagine being a godmother of a ship. So Kathy and I were discussing about what we wanted to do for this episode. And it was about 5 months ago, I guess, that we had a panel on that talked about, what's travel going to look like. We were kind of in the middle of the, oh no, what's going on? So now we're kind of, people are starting to ask, when is travel going to come back? What is it going to look like? So we thought it was a really great, and who can we have? And Geraldine was top of the list, and you said yes. So we're thrilled.
Wow, thank you so much for having me. And I think I get asked that as well all the time, right within my own family. And I think the question is not even so much as when are we traveling again, because we really don't know. That answer is outside all of our control. But what is inside our control, and I think really worth digging into today in the conversation, is when are we planning travel? Because you can't plan and leave tomorrow, not at least to do it in the way you really want to do it. And I think people would be really surprised to know how many people are booking travel. They are booking trips, really thoughtful trips. It's changed. And I think that would be really great to kind of dig into some of the things that people are now really taking into consideration in terms of safe, healthy travel, but still being able to explore the world that they want to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And I think, Geraldine, one of the things that came up a lot in the conversation that we were having over this chat yesterday was that so many of our suppliers are unbelievably digging in and making sure that the guests are going to be safe in every level. And they're just absolutely not interested in going until they know that they can meet that demand and that need. So I'm really grateful to them, and I've been amazed at the things that we've been seeing coming out through. And you talked earlier today about the cruise lines. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm a cruise enthusiast. I was 17 years with Princess Cruises, and I just have always been passionate about it. And one of the reasons I love cruising so much is that on any given sailing, no less than 8 sets of eyes look at the onboard evaluation. This is an industry that was built from the customer up. How do they make the customer and exceed expectations? They always want people to have an extraordinary time. And so when this hit, and sadly, cruising was at the forefront, though far from, so exaggerated in terms of its magnitude in the end. We all know how sort of press it got. And so it's natural for clients to think, well, is it safe? And so cruise lines have literally gone above and beyond. So there is no concern left and no rock unturned, because the last thing they want to do is start and stop again. And so they've done industry like unprecedented things, like two major cruise lines, Norwegian Cruise Line and Royal Caribbean, working together, putting down their competitive differences and understanding as a category, cruising, we must make it safe, and we must make it, our passengers' comfort and care and safety is our only concern. So the just the level of investment they're doing in the cleanliness, the technology, the spacing of cabins, the spacing of people on board, all the things that you can imagine, they really are reinventing it, and they will not sail. Even though they just recently announced this week that the no sail order that was out there was, the CDC had said that cruise lines couldn't sail. That's been lifted, but they're not racing out. They're taking their time, and one by one, cruise line by cruise line, they'll decide, just like customers, when the time is right. We want to do this right.
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. And I think that, from being on the retail side of the industry, where we're helping the clients to make those decisions, it's been really, really heartwarming to see how much work and effort and energy has gone into all of the making it right. And Kathy, you were saying something about someone today asking you about when they can go.
Yeah, it was the first question. I walked into one of the local stores. It was the first question: when can I travel? And people are just they're just anxious to get going. But we're Canadians. We're not going to go until the government tells us we can go, which is fine. But knowing that the suppliers have gone through all of these hoops and gotten all of these professionals together, and like you said, worked together. What a concept! And really come with a full package and gone to the World Health Organization and the CDC and said, here, this is what we need to do to make travel safe again.
Absolutely.
It's brilliant what's been happening. One of the other pieces, Geraldine, when we were talking the other day, you were sort of mentioning the mental health component of what's been happening, the silent pandemic of isolation. Do you want to speak a little bit more about that?
Yeah, and it's touched all of our lives. There's no one, I'm sure, in the audience or any of us that don't have seniors or, people who have been impacted by this, some obviously much more sadly than others, but there is a silent pandemic, and that is that, people are just not able to see their grandchildren or their, relationships that are near and dear to them, or you can be having a perfectly great day and feel empty inside. And because we're not getting our buckets filled, we're not getting our positive inputs. And there is, they're reporting now that up to 30% of employees in organizations are reporting some kind of mental illness, and we never talked about that before. It's probably always been there, but I think one of the things about this pandemic is that we need to take it seriously. And a huge way to overcome this feeling of helplessness and hopelessness and uncertainty is that we know this will pass. We know that, it's going to come back and, come back strong. So it's not so much about, are you ready to travel? It's about, let's talk about the experience of travel. Let's get something to look forward to, because our endorphins actually increase the minute we have something on the calendar that we can look forward to, something to plan. We actually take that vacation. Cunard has the famous saying, more than half the fun is getting there. That was a big campaign of theirs in the 1950s, I think, but it just stuck with me because, we do so look forward to it. And I think it's important that travel, that consumers work with travel professionals and work with you to really, every nuance of that vacation that they can look forward to makes a big difference to the mental health.
It certainly does. And I think, going along with that is the fact that all three of us are in the travel business for a reason. And so for us to actually have to be, this is honestly the longest I have not been in the air or hosted a women's tour or been traveling in the entire 20 years that I've been in the industry, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Who does this? But you know, I'm because we're sort of getting to that place now where I think we can see a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. I've been putting together some packages and tours, and I'm just getting really excited. So today I was looking at my Antarctica for 2022, February, that I was supposed to actually be on kind of in another few weeks, or I guess another couple months, and that one's not going to go. So we've bumped it, but I can feel it. So I know every time I bump into a client or a friend, they're like, when can we go? Where are you going next? And so it's definitely something that those of us that are travel crazy and those of us that just are used to traveling are struggling with.
Absolutely.
It's interesting times. Yeah.
Get me on a ship somewhere.
Yeah, anywhere, plane, a ship, whatever, right?
Yeah.
One of the other things that we were going to chat a little bit about was about the trends in travel as far as what will it look like moving forward? Because, you know, we're talking about, of course, there's going to be a lot more safety, the protocols. After 9/11, everything changed. But we're looking at things like bubble travel. So, you know, that's going to be people, you know, and you were just saying before we got on this call about how, you know, we're really feeling the need to spend time with family.
We are. And, you know, like all of these trends, they were there prior to the pandemic, but when you think you may never have something again, suddenly it really just brings it to a point. And so what we were seeing prior to the pandemic was a lot of solo travel, not like solo travel used to be, where, you know, you might go off on your own and join in cruise as a solo cabin, but solo travelers who are intentionally going out to say, I want to do this incredible hike through, you know, Mount Kilimanjaro, or I want to do a river cruise where I learn all the different wineries, and I don't have anybody and I don't need anybody. I'm going to join a small group of 6 to 10 people, and I'm going to travel with them. So that was already coming into the fold. More curated boutique experiences in, you know, small numbers where you actually get to really know the people that you're traveling with. Well, now with, you know, suddenly now we've all learned what a bubble is. It's a great opportunity to put that group together yourselves and travel with that number. I just think we're going to see, you know, the trend is going to continue to go for unique experiences and smaller, more intimate experiences where you can feel assured that everything has been looked after for you. You know, it's going to be a must. Health and safety is just going to be an absolute must when booking travel.
Mm-hmm. And I think we had a couple of weeks ago, we had Insight Vacations on, and I was really impressed by, you know, they're going to have all these bubble travel, small travel experiences available for people. The pricing's going to be the same, if not a little bit more, but I think they're really conscious on keeping the pricing down, and they're adding on a healthy advisor that's going to be with each tour that will make sure that everybody, you know, those protocols. So they've got the tour guide, and then they've got this other person that's just making sure that the health protocols are looked after. So
yeah, that's something I've seen too, Kathy, is that the number of organizations that are assigning a chief health officer. It's going to be, you know, they're going to start looking at things they never considered before.
Yeah. And all of these types of travel, I think that people didn't necessarily think of, you know, like renting a barge, you know, and having your family, you know, going barging in France, or a sailboat in Croatia. It, you know, doesn't need to be a big cruise or a big tour. It can just be a small, sort of really intimate travel with you and your friends, to your family, your bubble. And I think it's just fantastic.
And you know what's incredible too is that even the larger ships that, because, you know, obviously people have more choices. The large ships have just more itineraries and more to choose from, but you're going to have this ability to be bubble-like on a small group experience on a larger vessel. So they'll have, you know, fewer lines, fewer people dining. They'll have, you know, excursions really tailored to 6 to 8 people. All of that will be really thought through on every size of vessel. You know, I'm confident these cruise lines are going to figure this out.
Well, it's interesting. I was on the last trip that I was on was lucky for me was on a cruise in Tahiti with Paul Gauguin. And it was in February. And of course, it was just when all this was being announced, and they were sort of all of a sudden saying, oh, wow, this is actually a thing. This isn't just a passing phase. And we even could see in the 10 days that I was on that cruise, when they realized this was happening, that even things like the buffet lines were changing. All of a sudden, they were serving us. They were grabbing our plates. They were helping us, and instantly. I mean, that staff was so incredible, and this is before they even had the protocols that they knew about. But you know, they've always had the health and safety of the clients at the forefront, and they've always known that because there's people in a smaller space, they've taken care of it, and they've made health and safety top notch. So I don't think that it was that big of a shift for them in some ways. That the idea was there, but then of course, you know, the protocols had to be really changed.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is that, you know, is to not worry. You know, once you go to travel, it will all become evidently clear. We don't know now. Still things that they're researching and doing, and it's sort of to put that aside to say they will look after it.
Yeah.
Before you go, we will know every detail. There will not be a minute of your itinerary that we're not on top of. We just don't know right now.
Yeah. And I think that's what's really, you know, another piece that we were talking about that's so important for people to understand is that that's where we as travel professionals come in, because we have those contacts on the ground. We have those contacts with the cruise lines and the tour operators. And if any of our guests at any time or somewhere in the world, and we need to take care of them, we make sure that happens. You know, I mean, when this all came down, there was many of us that spent nights, you know, 3, 4 in the morning, making calls, making sure our clients got home. And I think that the value of a travel advisor is going to be so much more understood now. It already is. You know, we have people constantly calling us and saying, oh my gosh, I'll never go without a travel advisor again. And
I think that you'll see a lot more travel advisors, you know, sort of choosing their clients that carefully to say, okay, we're a match. I want to work with just these, you know, these you know, number of clients, and I'm going to do it right. I'm going to really, really pour myself into this itinerary planning. You know, it's going to cost a little bit more, but it is going to be, everything is going to find its price and value in the market. And I just think it's just going to be priceless to have someone just make sure everything is looked after.
Yeah, and it's really hard. You know, when we were talking about this yesterday, we have found oftentimes in the past, it would be the people that would book some of their own stuff, and then they would come to us for the hard bits, which is fine. You know, we didn't mind doing that. But I think moving forward, that's going to be harder for us, because if we don't know that, you know, you're going to be picked up by somebody exactly at this time, and all of a sudden your flight has changed, and we don't know what you've booked on the other end, you know, I don't see us wanting to do that anymore. I think that we want to take care of you from the time you walk out the door from your home to the time you arrive back, and we know that you are perfectly taken care of the whole time, and you're going to have the trip of a lifetime. And I think that's a big part for us.
You know, it's just not worth doing it onesies and twosies and piecemeal. It is a whole experience. Every moment of that experience matters, and it's often the piece that you think you can do yourself that gets messed up. then there's you to blame, right? And so I'm just saying, speaking from personal experience, you know, in all the years of being in the industry, I have developed deep friendships with so many amazing people who have looked after me. And I really hope that, you know, anybody booking real meaningful travel would work with you and really understand what's the most important thing on that trip, and then carry that theme through every piece of it. So in the last fall, we took my husband's mother on a trip, and she just recently lost her husband, and she'd never traveled without him. And it was a trip of a lifetime. And I have never enjoyed an experience more, because we worked with someone to make sure that every piece of it had this recurring theme of she was the queen. She was the princess. She got a butler, and she, you know, the ship would go left and we would go right. Now, a lot of it was just luck, but she thought I walked on water because, you know, this theme through the whole thing was there. And I know that that's the kind of experience that you're going to deliver your clients, is just this magical, important, make every trip important. We might travel less than we did in the past. I think people will think more about their trips. And as you said, your role is just so important.
Mhm.
And I think another trend that we're looking at seeing, and we're already seeing it with the clients that are booking, is that people are maybe going to do, as you say, maybe less trips in a year, but they're going to go longer when they go. And they're going to make it, instead of taking that one place in Europe, they're going to go to 2 countries in Europe and make a little more of each of the trips that they take. I think that's going to be definitely going to be on trend in the next while.
I agree.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people, you said earlier, and I, kind of twigged, is that there's this whole impact. I still get asked, when's the best time to, when should I book? And people, might not realize how many people had to cancel in 2020. How many people had 25th anniversary cruises booked, singles group, whatever you had going, and you put a lot of effort into making that experience happen. Well, all those people have rebooked for 2021. And so what we're finding is, especially with the smaller ships, is that they're getting sold out. And so it's pushing into 2022. So I definitely recommend that people, even if they're just in the thinking phase, get the main part of the vacation locked down, and then you can meander on all the other pieces that put it together.
Exactly. And I think that along with that, people aren't understanding with the protocols, the safety protocols, that the number of people that they're going to allow onto the ships and onto tours is much smaller. So there's a limited space as well.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't hurt to, dream, put down your deposit. Even I did that. I knew it wasn't going to be, it wasn't going to come to fruition. It was a long shot, but I've made a booking for this month. And, I had to cancel, but for a few months, I just felt so good about it.
Right?
Dreaming.
It's true. I'm going to break out into a rash if I don't get my Oceania in the fall, locked down, and because it's September and I know it's going to be so busy at that time of year. So
Yeah. That's pretty funny. Yeah, definitely. And also, looking at so many of our suppliers have been so good about so let's just get something booked, and if we can't do it, we'll let you move it to another sailing, another date, another year. And they've been brilliant. They really have. I mean, we all need to dream. It's absolutely true, as Kathy said. I mean, I keep saying, okay, I'm going to do something in January. I'm going to do something in January. And am I really? Yeah, no, I don't know. Yeah.
Take it with you. Hawaii is sounding really good about now. I bet you're not going to get into the state of Hawaii.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I don't know about you guys, but November has always been that month that I'm like, okay, and November is a month I'm always away. Actually, I was supposed to be in Galapagos and Machu Picchu right now. That was my back-to-back trip. I was taking a group on and move that one to next year, same time. So, hence it'll be busy next year. But I'm sitting here thinking, well, I'm actually here. So I did a kitchen reno, but I mean, that's not helpful for traveling.
Yes.
One of the things that we have done this year that has been really quite fun is we developed a new program called Mystery Departures, and it's and we talked about it before. It's surprise vacations for basically people from Victoria, because we're really only dealing with islanders right now. Not a lot of people coming yet here, which that's going to change. We're going to see an influx over the winter of people coming from other places, but we're still trying to stick within our BC bubble. And we've had so much fun with it. So we create these little unique packages for people based on their criteria, what they want to spend, how long they want to go. And they don't know what they're getting until they leave. And it's been so fun for the team. And it's been so fun for the clients. We've had great feedback. And so that kind of came out of COVID. I mean, there's always something positive.
There's some really interesting trends. So a couple of the ones that are kind of cool for me is work from hotel. So hotels are sitting at about 18% occupancy. They're as impacted by this as we are. And then there's these people who are, and maybe you're out there, two couple, kids running around and no home. They're literally abandoning the home and going to a hotel, you know, once a week, just so that they can have that feeling. So that was cool. And hotels sitting at 100% occupancy. My husband is in the industry, and he was talking to the Jasper Lodge Hotel, and they are completely 100% sold out.
Yeah.
Because people need to get away. And I think this is the whole thing, is we're creatures of movement and getting out there. And so it's kind of thinking, what does feel right for people for travel? Do something, give yourself that delight to keep the mood going. And then we'll get the big trips when we, you know, as soon as we can.
Yeah. And I think it's also super important for us to be supporting local. And, you know, we are a locally owned company and locally operated, both in Sydney and in Victoria. And we can see the struggle the restaurants are having and the hotels we're having. But some of the hotels are actually doing really well here as well, because it is a bit of a tourist destination. But even local people are jumping out and, like you say, staying a night or two at a hotel, spending some time enjoying some of the local restaurants. And it's important. We need to keep the money flowing in our communities.
Yeah. Kathy, you could not be more correct. You know, that industry, the three most devastated industries: hotel, restaurants, and travel. And, you know, we do need to support each other, and buying local. You know, that again was sort of picking up to buy Canadian. It's never been more important to keep the farmers and keep the manufacturers going. It's just kind of, I think, right sizing the world in lots of ways. So good for you for doing that.
Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, and I think it's been, I was just writing a piece to send to some clients, and I think it's, you know, it's just like a pause button is the way I've been looking at it. And everybody's had to like go, okay, 2020 gone. And what
delete.
What Kathy and I were discussing yesterday, it's like, you know, hey, we're not getting any younger, and our bucket list isn't getting any shorter. So, you know, reaching out to our clients and let's like seriously sit down and do a 5-year plan. Like, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And it can be a shiftable plan, like you would do a financial plan. But you know, you do designate a lot of time and money to these vacations.
It's so important, again, from the mental health perspective of having something to look forward to, but also from the life planning perspective. Because, you know, if you look ahead 5 years, you want to look back to 5 amazing trips. You don't want to look back going, I'm still planning. You know, we do get older. We do, you know, we have less options. You know, we were just both talking about moms celebrating their 80th birthday. And, you know, it just goes so fast. And so, yeah, I think that's such a great idea, because you actually need someone to, you know, remember you told me you always wanted to do expedition or Africa, or always wanted to. Those ones seem to get pushed farther and farther forward. So doing 5, you know, a 5-year plan, maybe it's not 5, maybe it's 3 and 5 years. But yeah, I think it's such a great idea. And people probably don't realize how far we're already published fully for many travel companies through the end of 2022. So, you know, you can look ahead and see these amazing itineraries that are all available.
Yeah, it's very true. I actually was looking at a particular Africa. It's a sky safari in Africa that I was looking at doing for our women's groups again, and it was supposed to be for 2022, and so 2021. We bumped that now to 2022 because I've had to bump everything, and the costing has gone way up, and there's already very, very little capacity. So I think it's important to get these things on the books.
And the calendar fills in. You know, that's the thing, is that there's only so many months of the year that are ideal for all the things in your life to be able to do. We've just, I'm jumping on the Egypt trip. There's some travel people put Egypt trip together for April 2022. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to say yes. Perfect. Because I know I'll get, and I won't do that trip. So, you know, yes, sign me up.
That's a definite one you must do. I did that one last year. It was phenomenal. Yeah, I've done a couple times, but it was the best last year. It was just phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, sounded good to me.
Well, we could chat with you all day, Geraldine, but I can't believe 30 minutes has flown by. And we have sort of scratched the surface of all the things we wanted to talk about. But I think if we had to sum it up, I think and I'll sum up what I think from, maybe each of us could do that. My takeaways really are, first of all, that travel will be safe. We will be safe. And we know that as long as we're working with qualified suppliers and people that we vetted, that we know our clients are going to be safe. And then number two is we need to dream. So let's get something on the books. I'm putting mine on. I've got all sorts of stuff planned, and it's just, I need to do it. And even if I have to move it. So those are my big takeaways from our conversation.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, my big take, you go first, Kathy. Sorry, I'll.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say, I reiterate that, and I just can't wait to get back to working with my clients and seeing everybody coming back into the office and helping them to really book and send them on the fantastic trips.
Awesome. Well, I think my takeaway from talking to both of you, certainly you're inspiring, Kathy, on your bucket list trips. I've got to catch up. Really, this travel is important. Life is short. And Kathy and the team at Departures are so committed to doing it right for you. I would, just really highly recommend the benefit of getting at least a trip or more on the books so that you have something to look forward to, and really do that travel. It is so important.
It totally is. Well, thank you so much, Geraldine, for being on our show. It's been an absolute pleasure. And for those of you that are listening, I just wanted to let you know for next week, we are actually having a local travel company that we're really, really excited about. Not that we weren't excited about today, because of course we were, but we're going to have Seawolf from up in, Port McNeill area. And he's going to be talking to us about some of his bear watching tours. So it should be very visual, very beautiful, something that's on my list. Actually, Kathy and I were both talking about, we originally were hoping to get up there and do a live show up there, but it just didn't work out this year. So we'll do it virtually this year, and maybe the two of us can get up there next year to do one together. It'd be great. So thank you everybody for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you, Geraldine, for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks.